Pocono Raceway, the Tricky Triangle. Located in Long Pond, Pennsylvania, this 2.5-mile track may only have left turns, but it is anything but a conventional oval. Each of the 3 turns is based on a turn at other racetracks, making them all a unique challenge for drivers and engineers alike. Turn 1 is banked 14 degrees and modeled after Trenton Speedway, a defunct racetrack in New Jersey that changed its layout the same year that Pocono broke ground. Turn 2 is banked 9 degrees and modeled after the 4 corners of Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Turn 3 is banked 6 degrees and based on the Milwaukee Mile in Wisconsin. The varied banking and curvature of the turns means that the suspension setup requires compromise, as a perfect setup in one turn would be slow or unstable around another. The property for the track was secured by Joe Doc Mattioli, a dentist from Philadelphia that quit his practice in 1960. Doc gradually amassed a small fortune with property in the Pocono resort area, and through a chance encounter at the airport ended up turning his resort property money into racetrack property. Pocono Raceway's main 2.5-mile oval construction lasted from 1970 to 1971, after a 3/4-mile track was started in 1965, with some drag strip and road course construction in between. The drag strip from the original construction was turned into the main straight for the 2.5-mile oval. The first IndyCar race was run on the freshly built track the same year that it was finished. The first winner was Mark Donohue, bringing the first victory to Team Penske, which would eventually grow to be one of the most well-known teams in motorsports. 3 years later, NASCAR ran its first 500-mile race, which was won by Richard Petty during the year of his 5th NASCAR Cup championship. The 70s were a tough time for the track with the oil crisis taking its toll, and the Mattiolis were considering selling the track. Bill France Sr., former CEO of NASCAR and now friend of Dr. Mattioli, convinced them to keep the track and attended the races 2 years in a row to show support and solidarity. Shortly after, in 1982, Bill France Jr. and Sr. were able to give Pocono 2 races a season, which gave the track a much more solid future. The NASCAR Cup Series has had 2 races at Pocono Raceway ever since, as of 2019. The road course has been in use since the early days of the track, with the SCCA and IMSA GT sports cars laying down rubber through the years. Most road races were run in a clockwise manner, the opposite direction of the oval course. While road racing was getting more popular in the 80s, Pocono would see IndyCar taking what would be more than a 2-decade break from the Tricky Triangle. The 90s began with no IndyCar races due to how bumpy the track was getting, and age was starting to show around the track facilities as well. Safety was another concern. The track just wasn't up to modern expectations, and a 1992 crash that Davey Allison was fortunate to have survived jump-started an investment in safety around the track. The Mattioli family had managed to buy out the stockholders, freeing them up to set up a $3 million a year plan to make Pocono Raceway safer, piece by piece. After a new infield road course was finished in 1991, many pit and paddock upgrades were started. This required the removal of the original 3/4-mile track, but in return, the garage area became more accessible to fans. The infield was given many other perks for fans, which included the removal of the original 375 toilet facility to make room for Long John, a 1,000 toilet facility, which until only recently was the largest toilet facility in the world. The track was also resurfaced in 1995, smoothing out the bumps that were a concern for IndyCar. Pocono saw little changes in the 2000s, aside from the addition of the steel and foam energy reduction or safer barrier that most NASCAR tracks were installing at the time. In 2010, the NASCAR Truck Series made its first appearance and a solar array was installed. This solar array provided enough power for the entire race facility plus 1,000 houses. About 50 sheep are brought in during the summer months to maintain the grass around the solar field. The track had additional safer barriers installed between the 2010 and 2011 NASCAR seasons. With most racetracks on the NASCAR Cup schedule owned by either International Speedway Corporation or Speedway Motorsports Incorporated, Pocono, being a family-owned track, puts it in a minority of tracks that are independently run. Dr. Mattioli passed away in 2011, passing management of the track down to 4 of his grandchildren and the family-run Matco Incorporated. The track today is still a unique and exciting race, but controversy still pops up occasionally. In 2019, the temporary PJ1 traction compound was tried for the first time in all 3 turns in an attempt to widen the racing groove in NASCAR races. This year also saw what may be the last IndyCar race at Pocono. 2 years in a row now have had very high-speed crashes that could have easily been deadly a few safety improvements ago. Pocono Raceway is one of the most environmentally aware racetracks in the world. Even their mascot Tricky is involved in the initiative. On top of the already mentioned solar field, they have a composting program, a few targeted recycling programs, and excess food is donated to local organizations. This isn't just for race days either. The office staff participate year-round. Pocono Raceway is one of the most impressive racetracks I've ever personally been to. For the sake of future videos in this racetrack profile series, I'm curious what the most impressive track you've ever been to is. Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next Car Simplified video. Thanks for watching.